I would like to welcome everybody to our session tonight on the basics of financial aid and the FAFSA process. Here with us, we have two presenters, and their information is there on the screen. Mr. Ruben Reyes and Joni Beater from the NMEAF, the New Mexico Educational Assistance Foundation. So we're very thankful and grateful to have them here with us tonight to give you all some basics about a very important process. Before we get started, I do want to give a couple of housekeeping announcements. One is, please keep your microphones on mute throughout the session. Unless you have a question, please feel free to unmute yourself or type it in the chat, as we'll be monitoring that. Secondly, make sure before you leave tonight that you complete the survey, the attendance survey. That'll give us some important feedback, but it also will make sure that you get the proper credit for attending tonight. So with that, I will go ahead and pass on over the presentation, and please let us know if you have any questions. Thanks.
Well, hello, my name is Joni, and I want to thank especially Miss Anita. Really appreciate this. Thank you, parents, students, counselor who has that is participating in this. Ruben and I really appreciate it. He is my colleague, and we are going to be talking about the basics of financial aid and what to expect from the FAFSA. Talking about researching schools and careers, along with what exactly is financial aid, along with federal student aid identification. What is that acronym, Fsa Id, along with what is the acronym FAFSA, the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. We'll be talking about My Student Aid app, along with how to register for free prizes from NMEAF, which we give away all the time, every year, all year long. So I am going to hand it over now to my colleague, Mr. Ruben Reyes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joni. Well, again, thank you everybody for being with us tonight. You know, before we get started, Joni and I always like sharing as many tips as we can as we do these presentations. And one of the things that we're telling students right now is, make sure you try to keep your GPA scores up even in your senior year. The reason it's even more important this year than years past is many of the colleges and universities here in New Mexico, at least, are actually using students' GPA, high school GPA scores to determine some additional scholarship monies that they may be offered. Now, in the past, they were using the ACT and the SAT scores for some of that additional funding that they may be awarded. But we know there are many schools here in New Mexico now, for example, UNM, and I believe NMSU as well, that are actually not even using the ACT scores or the SAT scores and looking at the high school GPAs. Now, of course, that may change later, but we just wanted to make you aware of that if students are looking to attend colleges and universities here in New Mexico. One of the things we talk to students about is where to start. It's a good idea to really look what type of school you want to start at. And what we mean by that is, do you want to start at a small school, a large school, in-state or out-of-state? As many of us know, the cost between in-state tuition and out-of-state tuition is very different. So we want to let students know to make sure they compare those costs and see what is the best thing for them to do financially. Also, the types of schools is very important. We're going to be talking a lot about financial aid. Well, financial aid is not just for traditional colleges and universities. Financial aid is also for vocational technical type schools, trade schools. They also accept financial aid. So we always want to make sure that, when we're talking financial aid, you can also attend a trade school and help. The financial aid will help you pay for that as well. Now, where to research colleges and universities? Joni and I always like sharing a few websites. Of course, there's many out there. One is called College Scorecard, and the other one is called College Navigator. Now, you can simply Google these and they will come up. They're easy to find on Google, of course, and both these websites are very good. However, if you are looking to attend a public college or university here in New Mexico, we highly recommend the College and Universities Guide that the Higher Education Department put out. It's a very good guide, and it lets you know everything you need to know about our colleges and universities here in our great state of New Mexico. So make sure you look at that guide. It's a very good one. However, students, they're going to go to college for a career. We're here to talk about that a little bit as well. So where can you research careers? One of the reasons we like College Navigators is because they also put a little link there to careers. And where does it take you? It actually takes you over to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. The reason Jody and I like this website is because they have really good videos there, regular folks talking about what they do in their careers. This is an important thing because, and one of the things we tell students right now as well, if you have not done an interest profiler, this is probably a good time to do it. And we always say, talk to your high school counselor. They probably have a couple recommendations for you to go online and do a couple interest profilers. Then you can go over to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics and review a bunch of these careers that are available. And looking at these videos, you may find something that really interests you. And if it does, look a little deeper, right? Well, how much education do I actually need to get into this career? We always tell students, you're going to be very surprised how many good paying careers only requires a 2-year degree. And many of us know that's just an associate's degree. And many high school students now, by the way, have college credits before they even start college because of dual credit courses that they can do in high school. So they can get their associates even quicker now. What else is important? Well, how about a salary? Well, it's also on the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics website. They post salaries, average salaries for all these careers that are out there. So we always recommend to students go out to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics and research some of these careers that are available to you so you know which way to plan your college education.
So what types are financial aid? Ruben and I always say there are several, and there is grants and scholarships, which grants and scholarships, we always tell students, please apply to as many as possible because it's free money. There is so much free money out there. We want our New Mexico students to get this money, absolutely. So to apply to as many as you can. Also, there is work study. Work study is the third type of financial aid, which you need to apply for through and on the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. And that is once a year. That is through your high school and you work 20 hours or less. And I'll get into that a little bit more.
Thank you, Joni. So we're going to talk a lot about financial aid tonight, right? Because it's part of the process. We want to get as much money as we can to help us pay for school. And that's why Joni and I are here tonight, to give you this type of information so you can work with your students and let them know what they should be doing right now as high school seniors, right? So there's two websites, of course. When we're talking about federal aid, you're going to use the Federal Student Aid website. That is the main website to apply for federal student aid. And what is that federal student aid? Where does that come from? Well, when you apply for what's known as the FAFSA, free application for federal student aid, you're applying for money that comes from what is known as the Pell Grant, okay? So you're applying for money that you qualify for via the Pell Grant. So whatever you qualify for, it comes from that grant. And if you qualified for the full amount, for example, this year you can get up to $6,395, or is it $495? Correct me if I'm wrong there, Joni. So that is federal aid. Now, if you're going to stay in the state,
pardon me,
Thank you, Joni. If you're going to stay in the state of New Mexico, we highly recommend for students to go to the New Mexico Higher Education Department's website and see what state aid is available. A lot of times students forget to look at our own state website. So we always recommend go to that website, see what's out there. It's not that students have to go here and do anything. It's just they want to go here and learn what's out there so they know if they qualify for some of these other additional grants or scholarships that come from the state of New Mexico. Now, everybody knows about the very popular one, of course, which Joni's going to talk about, the New Mexico Lottery Scholarship. But what about the Opportunity Scholarship? What about the New Mexico Scholar Scholarship? Those are things we tell students, go out there, research these grants and scholarships. That way, when you start working with the financial aid office, you can say, look, I'm pretty sure I qualify for the Opportunity Scholarship. How does that work in my financial aid package? So it's really just to be knowledgeable of what's available via our state to help them pay for school here in New Mexico.
Thank you, Ruben. So New Mexico Legislative Lottery Scholarship, we're always so excited to talk about it because for many, we're one of a few in the United States, and it pays for 100% tuition. It did not in the past several years. Now this year is 100% tuition, but the requirements are, please keep a 2.5 GPA, which is a C average. When you graduate from a public high school, go into a public New Mexico school. If it's a 2-year school, maintain a 12 credit hour. If it's a 4-year school, maintain a 15 credit hour. Now, a few stipulations. You cannot graduate from a New Mexico high school and go out of state and be qualified for the New Mexico Legislative Lottery Scholarship. Unfortunately, you are disqualified for that. If you go out of state and you attend a school out of state and things don't work out of state and you decide to come back in state and attend a New Mexico college or university, you are still disqualified for the New Mexico Legislative Lottery Scholarship, 100% tuition. Now, also, the lottery scholarship kicks in on the second semester of your schooling. The first semester, a lot of schools call it a bridge scholarship. So that's between you and the college that you will be attending for the first semester. The second semester, the lottery scholarship will kick in because they want to know if the student's going to maintain for the first semester a 2.5 GPA, 12 and 15 credit hours while they are attending their first semester. So that 100% lottery scholarship will kick in the second semester, and you do not need to apply for this New Mexico Legislative Lottery Scholarship.
Thank you, Joni. So we're going to continue talking about scholarships because it is one of our favorite subjects, right? Because like I think Joni mentioned earlier, scholarships and grants, this is money you do not have to pay back. And this is definitely the type of money we want to try to get for our students, right? Or students actually should get for themselves because it is the student that is doing this. Now, on our website, and we did put the URL there below, maybe Joni will put that on the chat as well. We have a really good scholarship resources page there. You can download the PDF from our website, and there's a full list of scholarships there that students can research. And we always tell students, make sure you're eligible for the scholarship before you apply. That way they don't waste any time on scholarships they may not be eligible for. But again, we always say apply for as many as you can. A couple things to keep in mind for scholarships and grants. We always tell students never ever pay to apply for a scholarship or grant. If anybody's trying to charge you to apply for anything really, that's a big red flag, and we always say it's probably a scam. So you don't want to have to pay for anything like that. Also, don't forget to look for local scholarships. For example, I'm a member of the Albuquerque Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Every year we process scholarships for students all around New Mexico. Check out local businesses, local banks, for example. Credit unions offer scholarships every year. Nonprofit organizations like ourselves, we also give out scholarships every year, which Joni's going to talk about a little bit later. Churches, your parents' employers, and things like that. So look around, ask around, do a little research, you may be surprised what you can find. But really what we want you to do when you get an opportunity is download the PDF from our website and look at all those scholarship resources that are available to you. And by the way, we also have a video that's available. One of our awesome counselors here in New Mexico did a great job on recording a video of the scholarship resources, so students and parents can also watch the video about the different scholarships that are available. We always recommend to also ask the high school counselor. They always have a list as well, and many times they will post it on the high school website.
So every year, sorry, my mute is just not working well. So every year, we always let the parents, students, counselors, the public know, the state of New Mexico know that always October 1st is the FAFSA opening. Every year, October 1st, and students who attend a trade, a university, or a 2-year school need to complete the FAFSA, and the opening date is the 1st. So for this year, the students will be completing the 22-23. The reason why is because they will be graduating in May of 22, most students in New Mexico, and using the FAFSA application, which is the financial aid application, for the fall of 22 and the spring of 23. So whenever the student is attending a post-secondary education, then they need to complete the FAFSA once a year.
Thank you, Joni. So now we are going to talk a little bit about the FAFSA. Like Joni just mentioned, the term FAFSA. I have students that you haven't heard that term yet already. You probably will a lot here very soon. Now, the FAFSA, which means a free application for federal student aid, we always say always, always, always make sure you are on the correct website. Make sure it ends with the .gov. If the screen does not look similar to what you see on this slide here, check the URL. You always want to make sure you're on the right place before you start your FAFSA form. Now, say, for example, you're working on the FAFSA form with your parent. And the reason we say with your parent, because the FAFSA form does require parent income information so they can calculate how much the student qualified for from the Pell Grant. So it does require parent income information from the majority of the students, okay, depending if they're dependent or independent students. And many of the students that complete the FAFSA will be dependent students. Now, for example, say you're working with your student and you need some help. Well, if you scroll down to the bottom of the page on the FAFSA page, you're going to find a help resources link that's going to take you over to the Federal Student Aid Information Center. Now, they're revamping many of these support sites. They're doing a really good job. But one of the things that Joni and I recommend, use the chat feature. We think that's a little bit quicker to get some of the answers. But they also have a toll-free number there that you can call. You can also email them. So if you're working on the FAFSA form with your student or with your parent, you're not sure about a certain question or things like that, you can always chat with somebody from Federal Student Aid. However, we want to give you a little tip. Many times you don't have to chat with anybody. When you're filling out the FAFSA form, you're always going to see a little question mark beside every field on the form. Okay, so every field has a little question mark. If you click on that question mark, it's going to give you really good information on what you should be entering into that field and where to find that information. They did a really good job on those pop-ups and gives you the information you need so you know exactly what you should be entering into those fields. However, say you're working on your form and you need some help and you want some help from local folks here in New Mexico, we also have that available for you as well.
So thanks, Ruben. So every Monday, we always have availability. Ruben and I are hosts of, it's called Money Monday from 3 to 6 p.m. And so far, we started in October, and we get so many wonderful parents and students, and even teachers, counselors, just needing questions, asking questions, that we have professionals there available to answer any of your questions. So please utilize this website, this resource. If you have any questions about financial aid, your FAFSA, how to create your Fsa Id, which we will be getting into that soon, just please log into this site and we will help you. Absolutely. So it's every Monday except holidays. And I know Christmas is coming up and we will not be available December 20th and December 27th. Thank you.
Thank you, Joni. So before you start your FAFSA form, one of the things we do want to mention, most students, it will require parent income information. One parent does have to sign the form with the parent for dependent students, and the information that it's going to require is actually information from your 2020 tax returns. So for the 22-23 FAFSA form, it requires 2020 tax information. Also, if you have your W-2s, those come in very handy as well. We always tell students, make sure you have your Social Security card handy, and that way you can double check your legal name, because you want to make sure you enter your name correctly, as well as, of course, your Social Security number. That way you get that in there correctly the first time, and you don't have to go through the trouble of trying to correct that if you put the number in there incorrectly. Okay, so a lot of the information, 2020 tax returns, is what's going to be required from the parent and the student as well, if the student worked in 2020. So just make sure you're using the right aid year there for your tax returns.
So we always have a lot of questions. Ruben and I have a lot of questions from the students and parents. Who completes the FAFSA with the student? yes, it is one parent that completes the FAFSA with the student. There is a student section and there is a parent section. This is a great infographic telling you whom needs to complete it with the student. So we know, Ruben and I have been doing this for many, many, many years, and we know there are a lot of different scenarios. This is a great infographic. It is on our website. Please utilize this infographic because it does explain who needs to complete the FAFSA with the student. And at the very end, if you have any questions about different scenarios, we can answer them. Absolutely. We have heard a lot of different scenarios, and we know different situations in the state of New Mexico. So a lot of times these students, if they think that they're independent, they just very well might be. And they would need to complete the FAFSA by themselves if they don't have a biological parent. But there are different extenuating circumstances. So please utilize this. And like I said, if you have questions, please let us know. We are here to help. Thank you. Also, so next, students and parents. The student needs to create an FSA ID along with the parent, one parent who is going to complete the FAFSA with the student. Okay, so a few tips about creating your FSA ID, your Federal Student Aid Identification. So it's a username and a password. And you need to create this in order to create your FAFSA along with completing your FAFSA, because when you complete your FAFSA, you are going to need your signature electronically. So that is your username and password, the student and one parent. Now, the parent, if the parent has more than one student, and for example, their student is already in college and they have created their FSA ID, the parent is fine with that. They only need to create one FSA ID for all of their students that are attending college or post-secondary education, okay? So when the student and parent, if this is the initial time that they are completing it, a few tips for this. Email addresses, when you complete this, always put in two different email addresses, the student a different email address and the parent a different email address, along with the mobile number, the student a different cell phone number and the parent, okay? Because there will be errors if you do not have those different. Along with the name, it asks you, what is your name? Always put in your given name that is on your Social Security card. For example, if your name is Cynthia on your Social Security card and you go by a nickname Cindy, always put in your given name, which is Cynthia, your full name, okay? So please remember that, because we don't want anybody, this process should only take a few minutes. I'd say maybe 10 minutes max between one person creating this FSA ID. So again, it is the student that creates the FSA ID along with the parent that is going to be completing the FSA ID. If the parent has another student that has gone to college before and they've done this before, they do not need to create it. They just created it the first time and they use it through all of their siblings, okay? Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you, Joni. So again, we'll continue with the FAFSA form because this is a very important form, of course. We want to try to get as much federal aid as possible. We want to give you a few more tips. As the student is completing the FAFSA form, they're going to have some options, of course. First thing first, just like Joni said, they're going to log in with their FSA ID and start the form. So that's the first thing they're going to do. However, when they're in the form, they're going to have an opportunity to select up to 10 schools that they're interested in attending, of course, interested in attending in the fall of 2022. Now they can select up to 10 schools on the form. If a student has more than 10 schools on their list, basically what they're going to do is they're going to complete the form, sign it electronically, of course, and submit the form. After it's been processed, they can log back in and add additional schools. Not hard to do at all. As a matter of fact, they've really modified the website to make that even easier. One of the things we also recommend, if the student does not know yet if they want to be on or off campus, we always recommend selecting on campus initially. That way they can package your aid with on campus, but you could always go back later and change that. Joni had mentioned the work study program, right? Having a job basically while you're going to school. It's a pretty cool thing to do. If the student is interested in a work study program, the only way the school knows is by selecting yes on the FAFSA form. So there's going to be a question on the form that says, are you interested in a work study program? We always say, if you're not sure yet, just go ahead and select yes, because even if they offer it to you, doesn't mean you have to accept it, but it's definitely an option there. And work study programs are always a great thing to do at colleges and universities. So just a few tips there as they complete the FAFSA form. And another thing as well is, like Joni mentioned earlier, you want to make sure that you're on the correct aid year, the 22-23 FAFSA form. So seniors this year are going to be creating the 22-23 FAFSA form. They're going to be completing it. Now, of course, we're not going to go through every page right now. This is kind of a high-level overview of what we're talking about today, but they're going to go through 7 sections on the FAFSA form process. When they get to the end, it's going to be the sign and submit, and they're just going to sign that electronically with their FSA ID. But again, this page here is basically just letting you know to make sure that you're on the correct aid year, which is the 22-23. Now, I did mention earlier that it does require the parent income information. There's going to be a tool. If this tool pops up, we always recommend for the student and the parent to use this. It is called the Drt tool, and DRT stands for Data Retrieval Tool, and it allows you to log into the IRS website and pull in all your information from your 2020 tax forms straight into the student's FAFSA form. This is a really good tool to use because it saves a lot of time, and it actually saves a lot of errors as well, because they automatically put that information in there for you straight from the IRS. Another reason, a good idea to make sure you have your FSA ID before you start the FAFSA form, parents, because it does require you to use your FSA ID to log in to the IRS website to pull in that data. Again, this isn't this tool does not pop up for everybody, but if it does pop up for you, you definitely want to utilize that tool. It's a great tool to use, and it makes the process even easier.
So last but not least is the confirmation page. Ruben and I always tell students and parents, when they complete the FAFSA, you will be receiving a confirmation page at the very end. We always tell them to please take a pic of it or print it. Several reasons why is because on the confirmation page, it has expected family contribution, what the family needs to be contributing towards your education. Also, your grant, Pell Grant, Ruben mentioned earlier, $6,495 is max per year. That's almost $6,500. That's a lot of money. So that would be in your confirmation. These are estimated figures of what you have put in from your figures from your IRS, from your 1040 form, your taxes, into the FAFSA. Also in the upper right-hand corner, it says data release number. There is a number there that is a DRT. For example, Ruben had said, if you put 10 schools in the FAFSA, which you can put 10 schools that the student is interested in, if the student later on decides that they are interested in another school that they did not put in there, they could always contact the financial aid office and say, you know what, I printed my confirmation page and I have a the data release number. Here's the number. They can pull that up. The financial aid office can pull that up and pull up the financial aid information. So this is always a great page to keep, print, put in a file. Also, if parents have other students that are attending, for example, twins that are attending, all they do in the lower right-hand corner is click on the transfer key in the lower right-hand corner, and that will transfer over to another FAFSA, and they could start completing that. So that's another good feature this year that FSA Financial Student Aid in DC has created for parents. So keep that in mind to always print this page or take a pic of it because it is very important. After a few days after that, they will be receiving a student aid report. It's called a SAR. Parents and students need to review that SAR and make sure that that information is correct, okay? If they feel that that information isn't correct, please have them contact the financial aid office. They are there, available, willing to help and see what is going on with the student aid report. Absolutely. Thank you, Ruben.
Thanks, Johnny. So we put together kind of a little bit of a flow here to kind of give you an idea of what students are doing right now. And this is what high school students are doing all over the country. So as we said here, I put a little circle here that says you. This is the student. First thing first, student's going to get their FSA ID. They're going to go over and they're going to complete their FAFSA form. That's where they're going to select the schools that they're thinking about attending in the fall of 2022. We always tell students at least have 3 or 4 schools on your list, minimum, so you can compare those schools. Now, when they complete their FAFSA form, they're going to select those schools. Those schools that they selected are going to receive their FAFSA form information. And the students want them to receive this information because it is part of the process. The colleges and universities and trade schools need that information so they can, number one, is send an acceptance letter, and number 2, most importantly, send an award offer. So the college university can't do that until they have 2 very important applications completed. 1, the FAFSA form, and 2, the actual college application itself, right? The admissions application. So we tell students, look, you're not done yet. You got your FAFSA form completed, which is great. Now those schools that you selected, make sure you get on their website and complete the college application for that college or university or trade school. The reason that's important because the student's going to create an account on that website for that school. That is also where they upload their high school transcripts, for example, and where they upload their ACT scores or their SAT scores if they're using them, for example. They're going to create their student ID. As we all know, everything is digital now. Everything's going to be sent to them to their account so they can log into their account on that website and check status of their acceptance letter and, more importantly, their award offer. And we always tell students, look, just because you went on that website, you created your application, you created an account on that school's website, does not mean you have to attend there. It's just you're going through those steps because that's part of the process for them to send you that award offer. You want to see that award offer so you can see who's actually offering you a better financial aid package to attend that college, university, or trade school. One of the things we tell students as well is always make sure you know the priority dates. What we mean by priority date, schools have a date that they want the students to have the admissions application, the FAFSA form, and everything done before that priority date so they can package their award offer, right? So many schools here in New Mexico have a March 1st priority date. Okay, so March 1st priority date, they'll pull in a lot of batches in and process a lot of those applications and start working on those acceptance letters and award offers and things like that. But there are schools, for example, UNM, their priority date is the first week in January. So that's right around the corner. There may be some schools out there that may have the priority date in December. So make sure that the student knows the priority date to get their applications in and their FAFSA completed by that priority date. And I always get this question is, well, what if I don't get it in by that priority date? Well, that's okay. You can get your FAFSA in any time, but a lot of financial aid is first come, first serve. And that's why we always say, you know what, get it in. You want to be in that first batch of applications that they process because they award financial aid to the first students that come in with their process completed. So financial aid is first come, first serve. So for example, say you're really interested in one of those work study positions. Well, they're going to offer those work study positions to those first students that off that first batch. But again, even if you do it after the priority date, that's okay. You're still going to get financial aid. Okay, so, but we always recommend to get it in by the priority date. Now, if students have not done this yet, we always recommend, they're doing a great job with this mobile app now. It is called My Student Aid app. The My Student Aid app is a really good tool. They've done a tremendous amount of work on this app. Students will not only use this app this year, but they'll use it every year that they're in college. A lot of good information is going to be on there. They can complete the FAFSA on their phone. They can get their Fsa Id on the phone. They can get to other types of resources and information that they need. And of course, they know this better than we do. If they have an Apple phone, of course, they're going to use the Apple App Store. If they have an Android, they're going to use Google Play. So do make sure students download this My Student Aid app and make sure they allow notifications, because these notifications are coming from federal student aid. So you want to make sure you get those notifications, because again, this is money for college, university, or trade school.
So the fourth type of financial aid, Ruben and I had talked about scholarships and grants, which are free money. We always emphasize, please, please apply to as many scholarships and grants as possible, because there's millions and billions of free money out there. And also on our website, and I have put it in chat, to go on to our website, because we have a lot of applications, a lot of links out there for students to complete. Okay, and then work study is the third type of financial aid, which you work 20 hours or less. You will apply from the FAFSA. You 20 hours or less, school is very full with you. The fourth type of financial aid is federal student loans. There are two types of federal student loans, and we always emphasize, please, students, make sure you know that you are taking out a student loan and only what you need. Only take out a student loan, only what you need, because we don't want our New Mexico students to go into debt, okay? And we don't want them to quit school either, because they don't have any money. They have exhausted their grant money, they have exhausted their scholarships and work study money. This is when the federal student loans come in, to take out a student loan based on your need. There are two types. There's subsidized loans and there's unsubsidized loans. Subsidized loans is where the federal government pays the interest while the student is attending school. And the unsubsidized loan is where the students pay the interest while they are attending school, okay? Federal student loans also have a grace period. You take out a student loan, you have a 6-month grace period after you attend, after you graduate from school, okay? And we always tell students, you need to pay the student loan back. It is in your name, your Social Security number, and you are responsible for these federal student loans. Your parents are not. You are responsible, so only take out what you need. And it is right now at a very, very low interest rate. So we always highly, highly recommend to make sure that you are taking out a student loan, and please pay that student loan back, because you cannot pay the student loan in a bankruptcy or anything like that. It is a federal student loan. It is in your name and Social Security number. The student is responsible for that. Ruben? Also, this is honestly, I always say I get the best screen here. NMEAF is also giving away $500 scholarships, 2-in-1 laptops, and $100 gift cards. We do this every year for our New Mexico seniors in high school. Any senior that is in high school right now, please have them register on our website. It's a very brief registration. The only brief registration that they'll all complete for a $500 scholarship. And you know what? The only thing we ask, and yes, it is random drawing, and the only thing that we ask NMEAF is, when you are the random drawer, we call you the winner, and we ask you, did you complete and submit the FAFSA? If you say yes, and you are going to a college, it doesn't matter, in state or out of state, we will send you a $500 scholarship, or if you choose a 2-in-1 laptop. These are the winners in the past 2021 that we have given $500 scholarships to and laptops to, and it is random drawing, and they are all across the state. And in the past month now, we have just pulled 2 more winners in the state of New Mexico. So it is random drawing. It's all over the state. Please, please have your students apply for this, because it is very easy. we're also giving away $100 gift cards. And Ruben and I always say, we are
not TikTokers.
Yes. So we are giving away TikTok challenge money, $100 gift cards. And it is for the most creative video that a high school senior could send to us. The most creative as to how did you complete your FAFSA? What was it like completing your FAFSA, your Fsa Id, your institution, anything to do with the post-secondary education moving forward. Please send us a TikTok. Have your students send a TikTok. Ruben and I receive those TikTok videos. We review them, and the most creative, we will call you and we will send you a $100 gift card and to anywhere you like, within reason, bookstore, Target, Walmart, Dion's, but within reason, we will send you a gift card. So please, students in the state of New Mexico, send those TikTok videos, because we really want to spend our money going towards our high school seniors. So I'm going to wrap it up right now and let you know that this is our presentation. And I thank each and every one of you for attending. And Anita, again, Ruben and I thank you so much for allowing us to join this meeting with you and our lovely senior counselors, parents, students, all of the above. So Ruben and I are going to open it up for any questions that you may have that we could answer. Thank you so much.
While you all are thinking about your questions, in the chat, I did put in the survey for attendance and then to give any feedback on the presentation or just any general comments about the event. But so go ahead and take some time to complete that. And if you're feeling brave, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask any questions or type anything in the chat. We'll monitor both. We may have a quiet bunch, but I will.
Sounds like it.
But I will keep your contact information there. And then again, if anyone wants to reach out. Oh yes, there is a question in there.
Excuse me, Anita.
Are you able to see the chat on your end, Jody?
I do see it. Do you have to be a certain age or grade to fill out the FAFSA? Great question. Yes, every senior in high school that is interested in attending a post-secondary school, a trade school, a two-year school, a university, needs to complete the FAFSA, because most 99% of post-secondary education asks for students to complete the FAFSA along with the one parent, because that determines their financial aid. And also have every student complete our registration for free prizes. Oh, please ask questions. That's why Ruben and I are here. That was a great question, Mateo. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, well, we will go ahead and wrap it up if there's nothing else. But again, remember to complete the survey that I do put here in the chat. Let me go ahead and stop the record on this session.